So yeah, another vlog style review. Reason for this is because I think my house is haunted by something or someone, I don't know. All I know is that for sometimes out of the corner of my eye, I see this gray-skinned person for whom of which I can't seem to get rid of, and they're trying to force me to release something, or at least remind me of something that we did together that I have vague memory of, and I don't remember doing. I don't remember it at all. And if you see them in the comments section, they're lying. I didn't do anything with them. I never did a collaboration with them. I didn't do anything with them. But today I want to talk about a lovely little That Time I Got Reincarnated as Slime fanfiction. I actually did a video on a long time ago doing a pitch meeting of talking about this kind of idea behind it, really. The themes behind it, actually. Now this one, of course, is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. It is one that I actually kind of like the title of. It's called Don't Step on Slime. And legitimately, it's actually kind of a cool idea. It's what would happen if an American was kind of reincarnated alongside our favorite Japanese friend. However, it takes that idea and kind of twists it a little bit. And it's an interesting idea, to say the least. I say this because it takes place in an alternate history during the American Troubles, which is basically just a take on the Irish Troubles. Which, if you know about the Troubles, you know exactly, yeah. But I don't want to kind of talk into that. I will say that the plot's actually kind of good, even though a lot of things about it a lot of missed opportunities. And the guy definitely was kind of going down some routes that I think are questionable, but especially in terms of firearms development. Now, I'm not going to bash the guy for firearms development, even though, technically speaking, any avid firearms person who actually devils and watches those of Forgotten Weapons or See an Arsenal or many other firearms channels that talk about black powder weaponry and their development, I think the guy could have done a little better, especially in terms of, hey, this was the ideas he was going with, kind of all that good jazz. Especially his ideas for certain firearms. I mean, he does have his own animations on it itself, and he does have a YouTube channel. I wish, though, he would kind of not have those unlisted, actually have them public so people can actually see his animation work, because legitimately the animation work actually is really, really good. And and you can see them still in the story to this day. I just wish the guy would make them public. To the author himself, make them public. For the love of God, make them public. Like, they legitimately should be seen to the public. You legitimately do really good animation work. But, how do I put this? The story itself legitimately does follow the plot a little bit, but also does have a lot of cool contradictory viewpoints. Definitely shows a bit of an American isolationalist versus, of course, the more outgoing of the slime, of Rimuru. And again, there's a lot of cool concepts in this story I legitimately do like. I like the development of where he's going, especially, kind of creating black powder and his, basically, version of firearms. Even creating his own weapons shop, even doing all this other stuff. Something I think that would have been a lot more, in terms of just the story itself, I think there were a lot of elements that could have worked a lot better if he tweaks it a little bit. And he does take a lot of inspiration from steampunk, which there's not a lot of steampunk stories out there when it comes to That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. And legitimately, steampunk is a massive, massive community and even art style that one can take a lot of inspiration from. I myself love steampunk. I even love dieselpunk. I mean, for the love of God. I did a review on War of the Worlds Goliath, and that's dieselpunk. Through and through, that is dieselpunk, and I love the hell out of that stuff. I love the art style. I even love, of course, Iron Harvest. That's a dieselpunk as all hell, and I love the art style there. But I'm getting off topic, and I'm rambling. And again, this is about the American character, and I don't want to spoil it. I want to make this as spoil-free as possible, and I just want to kind of talk about the way I felt about it. And the way I felt about it is, like I said, it had a lot of missed potential and a lot of missed opportunities here. The biggest opportunity, I think, that legitimately could have been more is if it was definitely more of inserting more of the American kind of exceptionalism, the American style that's sort of kind of implementing the ideas that our founding fathers kind of intended. Because obviously the character that we're following in the story is a libertarian. He's not left, he's not right, he is a libertarian. He does more or less kind of encompass the Burt Gummer libertarianism, where yes, we do love our firearms, but we do hate the restrictions there, but we will follow the law at least to a degree, but we're not going to like it. We'll begrudgingly follow the law. And again, it's definitely kind of cool how it's handled. The politics are handled very well, and I do like that in stories like this. I like it when it's not being ham-fisted, and before anyone goes and says, oh, he should have pushed more political values and views. No, you don't have to. And yes, that's rich coming from someone like me who has very much so heavy libertarian viewpoints and very much so heavy libertarian leanings, especially, against big government. But this story legitimately does handle the political viewpoints and subjects actually really well, and does kind of handle the situations really well. I legitimately do like it. Rimuru was also done very well, especially having the sort of whole viewpoint, the different viewpoints. From the Japanese viewpoint of the kind of cultural significance, kind of their cultural viewpoints, the whole thing with them, and kind of addressing the stereotypes for us Americans, which I do like that he did very well. I do also like how a lot of the other stuff was kind of handled. A little bit. Got a crick in my neck. I've been working outside. Give me a break, guys. Anyway, another thing I actually did like was kind of the characters as a whole, because there were some other characters that were kind of introduced, and a lot of other stuff that was kind of handled very well as well. Again, the firearms aspect was the vocal point of the story. And again, while yes, I would have loved for it to not have been as, I'm not going to say as, trying to take black powder and modernize them as they were. Again, any gun nut worth their salt would have basically known more. The aspects of their own ultimate sages would have probably handled a lot better, especially if you were a gun nut. Like, a good example. If you were a gun nut, the ultimate sage would have been able to have unlocked a lot of the knowledge you have absorbed, especially from, say, the sources of forgotten weapons, CNR arsenal, administrative results, British muzzleloaders, those guys. And while, yes, the guy does say the character has more knowledge about firearms from, say, the 1940s onward, or at least the 1930s onward, with the advent of smokeless powder and up, it still would have been better for him to have at least some sort of knowledge of the black powder bolt actions, especially those of the needle rifle, or even the Lee Metford, Lee Enfields even. Because a magazine bolt-action rifle and black powder would have been a lot more better in terms of a vocal point. I'm getting off topic. Well, it's somewhat on topic, but I'm definitely getting off topic to a degree. What I'm trying to say, without spoiling much, is that legitimately this is a cool story. I am sad to see that the guy isn't going to continue it, though. And he does give a concept of, hey, this is what would have been. And the what would have been is something I want to talk about. The story itself, he would have basically created his own version of basically an industrial area. Say, Paris during the Industrial Revolution. If that was the case, then he could have definitely taken a lot of concepts from, say, the French Lebel rifle. The Lebel rifle, for those of you who don't know, was a tubular magazine-fed bolt-action rifle with a side-loading door. Or in some cases, a drop-loading door, where basically it would have been loaded in, think a shotgun but reverse, or the Winchester 1887 loading action, basically. Again, different firearms designs. I might be confusing the firearms design. My fellow gun nuts will let me know in the comment section down below if I may have messed up the different versions of the Lebel rifle. But, legitimately, another aspect was basically him creating his own militia, more or less, and creating a tank based off of, more or less, the tanks from Steam Boy. Even gives examples of those. And while, yes, I do agree that the tanks would have definitely interesting, he probably, in my mind you, he could have went off of the Renault, F1, I believe is what it was, the World War I tank, more or less. The modern World War I tank, basically. That is, many believe, the predecessor to the modern tanks that we know, with the independent spinning turret and the driver and all that good jazz. Again, getting off topic, but again, this is just stuff I'm inserting in. The militia aspect, he could have had a lot more if, again, he went more in depths of the, say, something like what we had with the Minutemen, or even the militias of the World War I era to the interwar periods before World War II. Kind of the pseudo-National Guard of sorts, or basically kind of incorporated the sort of khaki uniforms of sorts. And again, he does point out what he would have done, and I believe personally would have been great, especially in kind of incorporating the character's sister, his mentor, a lot of this stuff, even alluding to the idea that maybe they would have been transported into the world as well. Again, I'm not saying that these are bad ideas. In reality, they're really cool concepts and really cool, interesting ideas. And legitimately, this is a really good story and a cool concept. Especially what I was talking about with, what if an American was reincarnated instead of a Japanese man, and that time I got reincarnated as a slime. And while, yes, Rimuru is a good counter to the two, especially with how his character is, and the backstory he gave, and the world building he gave around that character, legitimately there is a lot of cool stuff around it. And again, I'm not trying to spoil anything. This is a spoiler-free review, but I'm just wanting to point out stuff that he could improve upon if he was to come back to the story. Among those being definitely, more of the American exceptionalism to a degree. Kind of, hey, they got a second chance, and they can kind of incorporate a lot of what the founding fathers were trying to basically instill into America when it was first founded. Basically, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As well as, of course, the almighty Second Amendment. But again, a lot of stuff there. And there are more firearms designs that you could definitely look at in terms for black powder. I mean, hell, the Winchester lever-action rifle works. Again, many can kind of, correct me on this or even rebuke me on this, but the lever-action rifle design would work great for black powder rounds, or at least black powder cartridges. Again, the Lee Metford work well for it, the Mauser design work well for it, even the Lee Metford design, the Lee Enfield, Lebel rifles. There are so many bolt-action rifles, magazine-fed bolt-action rifles, mind you, that would work really well for a black powder cartridge. I mean, hell, even the Martini Henry would have been a good design choice for it, but again, that's just me rambling. Either way, though, I hope you guys did like this a little bit. If you guys have read this yourself, let me know in the comment section down below where the author could have improved upon and where they could have actually kind of expanded upon, especially in the firearms development realm, as well as many others. Because, again, this legitimately has a lot of potential, and I hope authors look at the story and kind of take it and decide to kind of expand upon it, more or less. But either way, though, as always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Airsoft Down. If you want to read this one yourself, pin comment down below. If you want to help out the channel, consider checking out all the stuff down below in the pinned comment as well. Because it's folks like you that actually help make these videos possible, even if I'm out here working on my farm in the dead of heat summer in Tennessee. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Airsoft Down. I shall see all you lovely, lovely people in the next video. Till next time, later.